Bernice, and welcome to my podcast. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. I wanted to create a podcast to remind you that skating is for everyone. Have you ever wondered what Synchro is or wanted to learn more about it? Well, this is the episode for you. Today, we're going to be talking to Gabriella Romano, and she's going to tell us more about her journey on the ice and what Synchro is. So sit back, grab a mug of your favorite beverage, and listen to this episode of On the Ice with Bernice. And remember, everyone is welcome on the ice.
I love your talk.
Well, thank you. I found it at the thrift store for about $3.
Oh, that's the best kind of purchase.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big fan of the thrift store.
Me too.
All right. Well, today we have with us Gabriella Romano. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
So we have with us Gabriella Romano, and she is going to tell us a little bit more about the world of Synchro. Welcome, Gabriella.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's just get started, and let me ask you, can you tell us who you are and where have you made a place for yourself in the world of skating?
Yes. My name's Gabriella Romano. Like you said, I'm 23 years old, and I've been competing in synchronized ice skating since I was 7 years old. I started with St. Louis Synergy here in St. Louis, Missouri, and I competed with them for 10 years. And then when I started college in Boston, I skated with the Lexettes, a junior team, for 1 year. And then I competed with the Haydenettes for about 3 years, a senior level team. And now I'm starting my first year with Skyliners Senior, and they're out of Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh my goodness, that sounds like a lot.
It is.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, it sounds like you do. If you've been doing it since you're 7, you can't but not love it.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about what is Synchro?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Synchronized ice skating is a really inclusive form of skating. I mean, we have 16 people on the ice at once. Now there's a newer division called the Elite 12 division where you can have 12 people on the ice at once, but it's pretty similar to cheerleading in some regards, somewhat similar to synchronized swimming in some aspects. You're making a lot of shapes, we're doing a lot of fast-paced movements, and the whole goal is to be synchronized.
And are there any jumps or spins or what's kind of the focus when you're on the ice?
Yeah, we do have a spin element, and the freestyle in synchro has gotten a lot more relevant in recent years than in the past. They're starting to incorporate some jumps, but you're not going to see like a double or triple jump in a synchro program. So
well,
it'd be pretty hard to match.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
yeah.
Tell us about competing in synchro. How does that work?
Yeah, so synchro, it works pretty similarly to any other sport. We have our sectional competitions like mids and easterns and pacifics. And if you place in the top 4 at those competitions, then you can qualify for the national championships. And then even further than that, if you place in the top 2 for the senior and junior level, then you can continue on to the world championships. You can also qualify for Team USA, which would mean that you get to represent the United States at the international level and compete at various competitions. Yeah.
Well, all right. So there are world and international competitions. That's pretty cool. But synchro isn't an Olympic sport. Do you think it should be an Olympic sport?
I certainly do. I'm obviously pretty biased. We've been pushing for Olympic inclusion for a long time. I remember as far back as when I was a kid seeing like hashtag like Olympics 2018, like trying to push for synchro to get in the Olympics back then. And the sport's come a really long way, and it's just getting more and more rigorous. I think really what's going to need to happen is to see a bigger turnout at the World Championships from a wider range of countries. We have a lot of European countries, and obviously the United States and Canada are always there. But I think it's going to take getting more representation of Asian countries at this level and just everywhere, honestly. Australia and New Zealand are always there, which is really cool. But yeah, and the reason that we created the Elite 12 division is because the Olympic Committee said that it's really expensive to send a team of 16 people and pay for that for all, however many countries. So we're trying a smaller division with 12 people instead of the 16 in hopes that that would make us more desirable for the Olympics.
That makes sense. I think often it just comes down to the money. So
it really does, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I know that's happened a couple times in my skating life. But so if someone is thinking about, they want to do synchro, why should they do synchro?
I think that people should do synchro because it's a great way to make friends. There's such a strong sense of community and just camaraderie, and learning to be on a team, especially at a young age, is so important and special. And we're all the same on the ice. There's nothing, separating us. It's just you and your teammates, and you're all working towards a goal and having fun.
Yeah. Well, all right. I want to get more into your synchro. So you said you started at the age of 7. That seems really young to be on a team and to be working with other 7-year-olds. Was that crazy?
I don't remember it too well. There actually was a 14-year-old on the team, so the age range was pretty widespread. And I was competing in ISI at that time. I don't think I started competing USFS until I was probably 9 or 10.
And I guess, with ISI, they're very inclusive, and so that sounds like a great place to start in.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's definitely, especially in smaller areas where maybe skating's not as big of a sport, it's easier to find an ISI synchro team than it is a USFS synchro team.
And did you do any other disciplines along with synchro, or was it just synchro?
I did not. I only ever competed synchro, which I know is a little bit unique. Most of my teammates were competing, freestyle or ice dance and doing other things. But for me, it was always synchro. Of course, it's good one of my friends always says it's good to eat your vegetables. So to learn things like ice dance and freestyle, because they do help with synchro, but I just never competed them.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's always good to just learn as much as you can, and you never know what you're going to be able to apply.
100%.
And you're 23 now, and are you in college somewhere?
I just graduated actually from Boston University.
Oh, congratulations. And were you doing synchro in university?
I was, yes. So I competed my freshman year, I competed with the Lexettes, and we went internationally and represented Team USA. And then through sophomore and senior year, I skated with the Haydenettes.
Oh my goodness. And I don't know much about synchro, but I know about the Haydenettes. I've heard of them.
Yes.
Tell me what it was like to skate with the Haydenettes.
Well, it's quite rigorous, especially balancing something like that with college can be really tricky. But everyone on the team is doing it, so we all help each other out, and it makes it a little easier to manage. We trained about 25 hours a week, and the rinks that I skated at changed. Like they built a new rink, so at one point we were in Marlborough, Massachusetts. Now they're training out of Norwood, Massachusetts. So the commute was pretty intense getting in and out of the city. But the nice thing is you carpool with your teammates. And then even though it's a long drive, about 45 minutes to an hour, you can get your homework done in the car ride. So we all work together and make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it sounds to me that through Synchro, you've learned, how to be self-disciplined and how to just get the job done, whatever it needs to be.
100%. I would agree with that.
Yeah. So what is the training like? You said 25 hours. Is that all in all week or in a weekend? Is that just the on
Yeah.
ice training?
Yeah, so we do a lot of different kinds of training. With the Haydenets specifically, we did on the ice. We would do off ice training where we would work on like steps and things, or working on our lifts and vaults and tricks off the ice first before getting on the ice. We also did trainer where you work out, build up your strength and endurance. We had ballet, which was awesome for artistry and movement, and we had a stretching class for flexibility and mobility. And I believe that was everything we did. There's also things like sports psychology, like sometimes teams will have like a team bonding or sports psych meeting once a week. My current team, the Skyliners, we practice Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's the whole week of training is like
Ooh.
packed into the weekend, which is really intense, but it makes it easier for people to maybe have like a job during the week, working 9 to 5, doing a regular life, and then coming together for an intense weekend every weekend.
Mm. Now, doing Synchro all these years, you just must have some awesome stories. What are some of your favorite Synchro stories?
One of my favorite memories is we usually take buses during competition. So like you ride in a big bus with your whole team. And I remember we were riding in the bus. I think we were at California Cup in Anaheim, and we were singing Country Roads. And the girl who had the like microphone that connected to the speakers, she didn't quite know the words. And on the Haydenets, we have a team manager who we love and adore. Her name is Gail. And she's been with the team for I think 30 years at this point. And she stands up and she takes the microphone and she sang every word to that song perfectly. And we all got such a kick out of it because we were so surprised that she knew that. But that was a pretty fun memory. We like to spend a lot of time on the bus getting like hyped up, listening to music, and just like getting in the zone for competition. So that was really fun.
So what's your favorite hype song?
Ooh, that varies, honestly. I like to listen to a lot of like Star Wars instrumental music. It really gets me in the zone. It makes me feel like I'm like a superhero or something. But that's usually like when I'm like trying to like zen out before competition.
Oh, I'm gonna have to try that next time I compete. I'm gonna listen to some Star Wars music. That
You
sounds like
should.
a great idea. Oh
Do
my
you have a
goodness.
pump up song?
I think mine varies, but you know that song that goes like pump up the jam, pump it up,
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
I really like it. It's I just gotta listen to something with a good beat before I'm gonna get on the
Yeah.
ice. I
Move
gotta,
your hips.
get your blood pumping.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Ah, all right. Um, Tell me some things that you like about Synchro.
Some things that I like about synchro. I really like competing with the team. Obviously I've been doing it a long time, so I would hope so, right? I think it's really special to work together with a group of people to reach the same goal, and also just picking each other up when you're down. Some days you may not be feeling 100% at practice, or you might notice that your teammates aren't totally there. And being like, yeah, being able to lean on each other and rely on each other, and just being mentors to the younger people on the team. It's a really special bond that you have with your teammates. And that's something that I think is so unique to the sport.
And I think we often think of figure skating and ice skating as a solo sport. I know if I ask somebody who doesn't skate and doesn't know anything about the skating world about skating, their number one assumption is just single skating. But there's so
Right.
much more out there, and synchro is definitely one of those things that you're not alone on the ice. And what I love about your journey is skating to you isn't a single sport, it's a team
Yeah.
sport because you've been
Yeah.
doing it your whole life, and how wonderful.
Yeah, I love it. I can't imagine skating on my own at this point.
Absolutely. And are there any other, I guess, rules in synchro that aren't like other disciplines in skating?
Yeah, 100%. One of the nice things about synchro is there aren't really any gender rules or rules about sex, how many men, how many women, how many anything, anybody that you can have on a team. Um, so like at the international competitions, a lot of times you'll see maybe like 4 or 5 men on a team, which in the United States we usually see maybe one, maybe two if we're lucky. But it's cool that it can be so diverse and that there's no rules on anything like that,
Mm,
especially now.
yeah, that's awesome, because, at the end of the day, we're all human. And
Yeah,
I love that, on synchro, I think maybe synchro helps us see that of,
yeah,
at some level, we are all the same.
100%. Yeah, and with skating, it's so important that, we're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to be as matched and synchronized as possible, even though we all might be totally different.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who thinks synchro isn't competitive?
Mm, I would say spend a week training with a senior team. Um, yeah, I think definitely, especially in places where there aren't so many high-level synchro teams, there's very much an attitude of, oh, synchro is not challenging, it's not competitive, it's not as rigorous as other sports, but I think it can be if you want it to be.
Mm, absolutely. And from the little I have seen of synchro, it just looks like it's how many people did you say are on the ice? 16?
16, yeah.
Yeah, it's just 16 people on the ice just getting after it, training
Yeah.
really hard. And I can see how that would be very competitive when you get a couple of teams together, all training equally as hard.
Yeah, it's quite intense for sure.
Yeah. Well, Gabriella, what's next for you? So you're skating with the Skyliners this year. Do you want to keep, doing synchro as long as you can?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question. I don't know. I am coming out of retirement at the moment, so I'm kind of getting back to competitive, training schedule and everything. And especially now that I'm in the working world and I'm not a student anymore, it's going to be a bit of a different schedule for
Mm.
me. Um, I think I definitely want to accomplish, some of my goals. Like I would really love to compete at the world championships. And I would also really like to compete on a team with my little sister. So hopefully that's in the cards for us at some point. She
Oh,
just
how
graduated high
sweet.
school. Yeah, she's starting with a junior team this year. And I'm hoping that maybe she'll come skate with me on a senior team at some point. So that would be really special for me.
Oh, and what's her name?
Her name's Alexis.
Well, Alexis, you need to go skate with Gabriella. Keep working, and that needs to
Recruiter.
happen. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm not in the synchro world myself, but I would love to see that.
Thank you.
Oh, how fun. And can I ask, where do you work?
Yeah, I just accepted a position recently at Tufts Medical Center. So it's a hospital associated with Tufts University, but it's in the city of Boston. So I'm really excited.
Oh, wow. And so, you're doing not only a top sport, you're doing medicine, which that just sounds very top as well.
It's gonna be intense, but I'm excited for the challenge.
My goodness, the more skating people I meet and talk to, the more I realize how hardy we are, and we are capable of doing a lot at one time.
We really are. We really are. I was talking to someone recently and they asked me if figure skaters were tough. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And he was like, well, when I think of figure skaters, I think of like glittery dresses and like, skating around. And I was like, when I think of figure skaters, I think of people skating around on the ice and like being aggressive and like bleeding on their leg, but still skating and like just like the blood, sweat, and tears. So it's interesting the perception people have.
Absolutely. And I guess in one sense, we know that we're doing it right if people think it's effortless. But, behind the
100%.
scenes, we're skating with a broken toe, or they don't know, I know a lot of people have torn their ACL and have had to come back from that. But, I agree with you. Figure skaters are so tough.
Right. And you wouldn't even know.
And you wouldn't even know. Oh, you got to put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, well, Gabriella, I got one question left for you today, and that is, who do you know that I should interview next?
That is such a good question. I would say that you should interview Elissa Kempisti. She's one of my very good friends, but she competes at the Elite 12 level, which is a newer level in Synchro. And I think it would be an interesting perspective to hear such a new blossoming division.
Oh, well, I would love to do that. I'll let Anna get with you to hook us up. And well, Gabriella, just thank you so much today for explaining to us what Synchro is, and I wish you the very best of luck on your continued journey on the ice, and just thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on and for wanting to highlight Synchro.
Absolutely. Well, it's part of the skating world that we haven't touched on yet. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of On the Ice with Bernice. On today's episode, we talked with Gabriella Romano about her journey on the ice and the world of Synchro. Thank you, Gabriella. I learned a lot about Synchro that I had no clue about. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you like, comment, and subscribe to my podcast? Or maybe even share this episode with a friend? This really helps podcasts like me get going. This episode of On the Ice with Bernice was researched and produced by Anna Blankenship and hosted by me, Bernice. And remember, everyone is welcome on the ice.